Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
Hello. How are we all?
It's great to be back. I hope you all enjoyed your bank holiday. Hello, everybody. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Paul. Hi, duck loving mum. Hi, Paul. Hello, John. Yeah, I hope you had a really great Easter weekend. I did. Had a barbecue and fell asleep. Got drunk and fell asleep on the couch. It was wonderful. It was absolutely fantastic. Nice that we can still do these things for how long? Who knows? With the state of the world, it's it's crazy out there. We've got a lot to talk about today. I've got a lot I want to get through. I don't think I've done a live. I think I've been live for about 11 days. Okay. So this really should be talked about a lot more than it is being talked about right now, this first story, because we found out just in the last day or two that a number 10 network, 10 Downing Street, has been targeted with spyware. Say, a group in Canada, I'll get to it. But you've heard about Pegasus. You remember Pegasus, the Israeli-made software that was sold through a group called NSO? Well, the Prime Minister's phone was among those that has been tested for the spyware, it is claimed. Downing Street and Foreign Office computer systems were suspected to have been infected with spyware, according to a Canadian investigative group. The Citizen Lab says it informed officials that suspected Pegasus spyware was discovered in 2020 and 2021. With the Downing Street incident linked to operators in the United Arab Emirates. Table over. The Israeli-based company has denied the allegations, saying they are false and could not have taken place. However, the Citizen Lab, which tracks electronic surveillance, said in 2020 and 2021 it notified the UK government that networks belonging to both number 10 Downing Street and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office were suspected to have been infected using this Pegasus spyware. Now, you may remember this Pegasus spyware. There were lots of people that were alleged victims of this, including, I think, Emmanuel Macron. This goes back to the 22nd of July in 2021, this article. But members of Jamal Khashoggi's inner circle were among those that were targeted with this spyware. And it's thought, very much so, that this spyware was used in his abduction and obviously murder. There were multiple people, but famous people, who were targeted with this. Arab royal family members, 600 politicians and government officials around the world, 189 journalists, 64 business executives, 85 human rights activists, so they're going after activists as well as journalists. And according to this article in the Washington Post, there were 10 prime ministers, 3 presidents and a king that were targeted by this software. And now this group is saying that our own Prime Minister, the buffoon that is Boris Johnson, was targeted as well. Pegasus allows governments to take control of people's phones, extract data and carry out surveillance. For an ordinary person like you and I, there's pretty much nothing that we can do to protect against it, really. If they want control of your phone, they will get it. You don't actually have to do anything for this spyware to be installed on your phone. It's that good, or that bad, depending on which way you look at it. The NSO group has always defended its use, however, saying it's only sold to selected governments for legitimate law enforcement and intelligence purposes, such as against criminals and terrorists. But they're selling it to, countries with not great human rights records, to say the very least. The latest claims are linked to an investigation by the New Yorker magazine, which looked at the targeting of individuals campaigning for Catalan independence in Spain. Here's that article, How Democracies Spy on Their Citizens. The right web of spying that's been spun by this company, and it's being used all over the world by, well, I mean, they say they only sell it to governments to use, but and the governments they go through stringent tests, but it was used against Khashoggis in a circle, you know. The Citizen Lab said it identified at least 65 individuals targeted or infected, including members of the European Parliament, Catalan presidents, legislators, jurists and members of civil society organisations. The New Yorker said that in the UK, a number of official phones were tested, including those of the Prime Minister, but it was not possible to establish which device was infected or what, if any, data was taken. The Citizen Lab said the suspected Foreign Office infections were believed to be linked to operators of Pegasus in the United Arab Emirates, India, Cyprus, and Jordan. But even if the infections were believed to be linked to operators in those areas, there's no saying that it was, you know, the people in the United Arab Emirates or India or Cyprus or Jordan in those governments that were actually doing it. It could, I mean, we know that UC Global were a Spanish company, and they were spying on Julian Assange for the Americans, and that was in Spain. So, you know, we don't really know who's behind this, not for sure anyway. We can just hypothesize. The Citizen Lab said that the suspected Foreign Office infections were believed to be linked. I've said that. It said these could have been related to staff serving abroad and using overseas SIM cards, similar to the way US diplomats were reportedly hacked in Uganda. NSO Group has said that US phone numbers cannot be targeted. Isn't that interesting? Don't you find that interesting? Why isn't that? What, American phones are the only ones on the planet that you can't target? Is that by design? You know? And if so, if that's why by design, why? The High Court, of course, ruled that this guy, the Dubai Sheikh Mohammed, hacked his wife's phone using that NSO spyware. The Citizen Lab said it believed the Downing Street suspected infection was linked to the UAE. Obviously, like I said, though, it doesn't necessarily mean the UAE are the ones doing this. It could just be operators in there for and on behalf of an entity, a foreign entity somewhere else. Or an entity here, you know, who knows. Previous investigations by a consortium of journalists claimed that around 400 UK phone numbers appeared in the leaked list of numbers linked to the NSO group between 2017 and 2019, with the UAE alleged to be behind the largest number. NSO Group reportedly ended its contract with the UAE last year after reports that Pegasus had been used by the ruler of Dubai. That guy I just told you about, to hack his ex-wife's phone. Globally, activists, journalists and politicians were on the list of potential targets. Although the Israeli-based company disputed the interpretation of the leaked material, of course, they always have to put that in. This is the other side of it. It was placed, obviously, unless it's anything Russian, then they just don't bother putting that in. They don't two sides anything with Russia. It was placed on the US Department of Commerce blacklist following the reports last year, which restricted its access to US technology. And obviously, you know, they say it's lost its contract with UAE. In response to the latest claims, a spokesman for the UK government spokesperson said it didn't routinely comment on the security matters. There's no obviously, you know, there's nothing to say here that Boris's phone was successfully hacked or there was any defence against it. They just know that it was probed using this, or this group say that his phone number was probed using this software. Spokesman for the NSO Group said the information raised regarding these allegations are yet again false and could not be related to NSO products for technological and contractual reasons. I mean, you know, for all the safeguards that the NSO have got, their spyware seems to be used a hell of a lot for, nefarious reasons elsewhere. So why shouldn't we believe this one to be true? The NSO continues to be targeted by a number of political motivated advocacy organisations like Citizen Labs to Embassy, they said, to produce inaccurate and unsubstantiated reports based on vague and incomplete information. Yeah, we'll see. and they say they've repeatedly corroborated with government investigations. 50,000 phone numbers were attacked using this software, and they say it's unfounded. These allegations are unfounded. These allegations against us are unfounded. This Israeli firm that created spyware that can't spy on American phone numbers. Interesting, isn't it? Somebody should really look into that. This is the guy at Citizen Lab. This is his thread on it. He said he found signs of Pegasus spyware infection at the Prime Minister's office, 10 Downing Street. They notified the British government. You can see a government official confirmed to me that the network was compromised without specifying the spyware used. They also found signs that that multiple British officials at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office had been affected with this Pegasus spyware. So this isn't just the Prime Minister they're saying. Also saying that it's other members of the government being spied on by a foreign, somewhere in UAE. Foreign office was hacked using Pegasus on at least 5 occasions, they say, between July 2020 through June 2021. Maybe that's how they found out about the the parties. Do you remember? Maybe this is the source of the leak for the parties. Maybe this is the source of the leak for how they found out that Rishi Sunak's wife was dodging all that tax by, claiming non-dom status. Sorry, not dodging, avoiding. Maybe that's where it come from. Maybe it was this Pegasus software. Who knows? Many assume that that Britain's vaunted security apparatus could protect the government from the scourge of mercenary spyware. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. I wasn't one of those people. They linked the 10 Downing Street Pegasus case to the United Arab Emirates. Like I say, though, I mean, the Americans used UC Global in Spain to spy, and other governments use other, third parties to spy. It wouldn't necessarily be from the UAE, although it could be. Those phones and politicians and officials are a security nightmare everywhere, and obviously that's links through to the article in the Washington Post from the time. So yeah, this is while these governments are all lying to us, it seems they're lying to each other and spying on each other as well. Seemingly. Should be a bigger story, shouldn't it, really? Don't you think? But I bet, many of you, until you've actually heard this, not even... Interesting, by the way. If they can't be used on American phone numbers, like I just said, but the FBI confirmed, this is from The Guardian from a couple of months ago, confirmed it obtained the Pegasus spyware themselves, right? To, quote, stay abreast of emerging technologies and tradecraft. They weren't using it themselves, and it can't be used on American numbers. But they had it, stay abreast of emerging technologies and tradecraft. That's all they used it for, apparently, though. The Bureau said it had procured a, quote, limited license to access Pegasus for, quote, product testing and evaluation only, and suggested that its evaluation of the tool partly related to security concerns of the spyware. If the spyware fell into, quote, the wrong hands. Well, it certainly did that, didn't it, seemingly? Seemingly did fall into the wrong hands. Don't know who's there. We've got to talk about this video. Have you seen it? If you haven't seen this video, you need to. Because this is, I don't think that they were going to be drawing attention. I mean, who knows? Who knows what this... So, the Ukrainian puppet president, Vladimir Zelenskyy, keeps doing videos and whatever. Done this video the other day, and somebody said he deleted this, but it's freely available and it's up by the Department of Defense. 33 seconds long. Apparently, according to this guy, he says 52 days. This is the upshot of what he says in this video. 52 days we work, and he shows his speech. We love, he shows his family photo. We are thankful. Shows a picture of a statue. From a destroyed Borodyanka flat, and we are proud. And shows the flag. And we look at this. Just look at this video.
Вечір всім. 52-й день. Що можу сказати? Ми міцні. Працюємо. Любимо. Дякуємо. Пишаємось. І всіх переможемо. Вечір всім.
Did you see what I see? Did you see what I see?
52-й день. Що можу сказати? Ми міцні. Працюємо. Любимо. Дякуємо. Пишаємось. І всіх переможемо.
Listen, this guy says he's exhausted and emotional. War is hell. But hey, I've got another theory, haven't you? Is it okay for me to ask? I don't know whether this is within the Twitter, the guidelines on social media anymore, but is it okay for me to ask outright, are we sending shitloads of weapons to a guy coked off his tits? Because I've seen people on drugs before. I've seen people on cocaine. I've had cocaine. I didn't think it was very good, actually, and I don't advocate taking it. I think it's a crappy drug. But they look like that. And it's weird that he's using such patriotic words there. 52 days we work, we love, we are thankful, we are proud, showing the flag. Somebody reminded me today that there's a saying, Samuel Johnson, I think it's attributed to. Patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel. Ukraine is the most corrupt country on the planet, according to the Pandora Papers. Is it Pandora Papers or Pandora Papers? One of the two. The most corrupt country on the planet. And when they're talking about Ukraine, they never talk, do they, about, they're rarely talking, at least when they're giving you updated reports of, you know, the fact that Hunter Biden's son was on the board of energy companies, and not just Hunter Biden's son, but, you know, the children of John Kerry and Nancy Pelosi were all involved in Ukraine. This war didn't start in February. It started 8 years ago in 2014. 14,000 people have died in the Donbass region in the last 8 years. What are we doing here? Drugs are bad. children. Cocaine as well. It's such a, you know. Listen, if he's not on cocaine, fair enough, but it just looks like it is to me. And I think I'm still okay to say that. I mean, that could have been a pattern on the table, in the table, but hey. Yeah, I'll put my shoes on Eddie Murphy's couch. Talking of Ukraine, the last time I think I went live, I mentioned there's very few people on the ground in Ukraine that we can trust. We certainly can't trust the mainstream media spin on it, because all they're going to do is just promote anything that's anti-Russian, and anything that's any different, they won't talk about it. Been plenty of evidence I've shown of that, but I mean, one of the few people that I was getting valued information from is a guy called Gonzalo Lira. This is his Twitter. You've no doubt you've seen this guy. You know who he is. He was over in Ukraine. He was reporting from there, and he's doing some great stuff. And he posted this on March the 26th. You want to learn the truth about the Zelenskyy regime? Google these names, and he's got a list of names there. And if you haven't heard from me in 12 hours or more, put my name on the list. Well, he's gone missing. We haven't heard from him since, I think, Friday. Nobody's heard from him. And this is just a couple of weeks after the Daily Beast did a hit piece on him. Because obviously, you know, if somebody's reporting facts and you can't attack the facts that he's coming out with as lies, and it's inconvenient, the truth that he's saying, then what do? You attack the person, don't you? You know, you ad hominem, and they did a hit piece on the guy. They weren't satisfied with merely smearing him, though. He contacted the government in Kiev, according to Anya Parampil, for comment on a critical YouTuber. Do they want him jailed? I mean, this is what they wrote. This is what they wrote in that article. Lira had claimed that Zelenskyy administration sent men to his home in Kharkiv to disappear him, but that he miraculously avoided them and was at least recently hiding out in an undisclosed location in the city. The Ukrainian government did not respond to a request for comment, but many experts doubt the veracity of this account and question whether he's really still in Kharkiv. So they're reaching out and asking the government, asking the Ukrainian government all about this YouTuber that they're writing a hit piece on. And now he's disappeared. Now we haven't heard from him. Max Blumenthal has said if Gonzalo Lira has indeed been disappeared by Ukraine's SBU, he joins a long list of dissident leftists, human rights activists and local officials kidnapped, tortured and even assassinated by Zelenskyy's death squad, and with Kiev's open support. The Daily Beast you've put his life in danger, you know that. Vladimir Strok, who was the first name, look. Vladimir Strok. Sure that this is the guy that Max is talking about. The mayor of the Ukrainian city of Kreminna was assassinated by an SBU death squad for urging negotiations with Russia. The advisor to Ukraine's Ministry of Internal Affairs celebrated Strok's murder, writing, "There's one less traitor." Officials across Ukraine have been terrorised by the CIA-trained SBU security services, says Max. Gennady Matsagora, mayor of Kupiansk, released this video appealing to Zelenskyy for the release of his daughter, who was kidnapped and is held hostage by agents of the Ukraine's SBU. I'll play this.
Уважаемые
He
жители
says, Dear
Украины,
residents of Ukraine,
хочу, чтобы вы
I want you to
услышали
hear my appeal
мое обращение к президенту Украины
to the President
Зеленскому
of
Владимиру
Ukraine,
Александровичу,
Vladimir
главе
Zelensky,
СБУ,
and the head of the SBU, the
министру
Ministry of
обороны,
Defense,
уполномоченной
and
по правам
Commissioner for Human
человека
Rights
Верховной Рады
of the
Украины.
Rada of Ukraine. I
Я,
am the mayor of
мэр
the city
города
of
Купянского
Kupiansk,
собора Геннадий
Gennady
Николаевич.
Nikolaevich, and I appeal
Обращаюсь
to
к
you,
вам, Игорь
Alexandrovich.
Александрович. В нашей семье
Our
горе.
family is grieving. My
Пропала моя
daughter,
дочь,
Daria
Нацгвардия Дарья
Gennadova,
Геннадьевна.
is missing. She was
2002
born in the
года
year
рождения.
2002, so she's 20 years
Последние
old.
20 дней
For the
она
span of 20
находилась
days, she's been with
у
her
своих
friends
друзей в Ивано-Франковске.
in an Ivano-Frankivsk. If I get these names wrong, I'm sorry. 3 days ago, she was detained by the employees of the regional department of the SBU in
Работники
Ivano-Frankivsk
областного
Oblast.
управления
Sorry if I get these
Ивано-Франковской
names
области
wrong.
СБУ. И
And now the
теперь
family she stayed with
семья,
has not
которая
seen
жила
her
3 дня,
3
ее не
days.
видит. Они
They filed a
обратились с
complaint to
заявлением
the
в
police and the
полицию,
prosecutor's office.
прокуратуру. Я, в свою
I,
очередь,
in turn,
несколько дней назад
appealed a few days
обращался
ago
к представителю
to a
уполномоченного по
representative of the
правам
Commissioner for
человека
Human Rights of the
Верховной Рады Украины.
Rada of
И
Ukraine,
нас убедили о
and we
том,
were
что
convinced that further
дальше
documentation
документы
had
уже
already
приходят в
arrived at
Верховную Раду.
Rada. A representative
Представитель
of the
СБУ
SBU yesterday
вчера нас убедил, что
convinced
к
us
концу
that she
дня
would be
ее
released
пустят
home by the
домой.
end of the day.
Сейчас
Now we are receiving
нам поступают
threats
угрозы.
of retribution against my daughter.
Владимир
Vladimir
Александрович,
Alexandrovich,
если вы
if you
считаете,
believe that I, as
что
mayor
я,
of the city,
как мэр
committed an
города,
official crime
совершил должностное преступление и
and did
один,
not stand
без
alone without
оружия,
weapons, did
не
not confront an armed
противостоял,
army,
не
judge me.
противостоял вооруженной армии, судите меня.
If
Если
you
вам
need to
нужна
take
моя
my life,
жизнь,
take
возьмите
it.
ее. Но
Help me
помогите
save my
спасти
daughter.
дочь.
Help me save my daughter. If
Если
anything happens to her,
с ней
I will
что-нибудь
hold you
случится,
responsible for it.
я в этом буду винить вас.
Under Zelensky's watch, Ukraine's SBU had partnered with neo-Nazis from the Azov Battalion and C-14 to hunt down left-wing activists. This is from a video posted by Azov members during the SBU's torture and kidnapping of leftist Matyushchenko in Dnipro. Targeted for his political views. Before Gonzalo Lira disappeared from Twitter and possibly from everyday life, he tweeted about SBU agents kidnapping Kharkov-based disabled activist Oleg Novlikov for pro-Russian views. One among scores of activists arrested under Zelensky's watch. I hope you're alright, Gonzalo. I really hope you're okay. Zelensky has also authorised the rearrest of his main political rival, Viktor Medvedchuk, the founder of Ukraine's second most popular party, charged with treason. The US State Department openly supported Zelensky banning Medvedchuk's media outlets last year. I mean, what kind of government bans his political opponents, shuts down media outlets that are critical of his government, calls anybody who goes against anything that the government want to do treasonous, says they're working on behalf of a foreign state, to journalists who are critical? Without, what kind of governments do that? Max continues with and says, as Dan Cohen reported, exiled Ukrainian opposition figure Anatoly Sharil said he faced a recent SBU assassination attempt after his friend was kidnapped. Sharil's party was among 13 opposition partners outlawed by Zelensky under martial law. What kind of governments do this? What kind of governments outlaw your political opponents? Because what I keep hearing is people saying, oh, we've got to defend democracy in Ukraine. Doesn't sound too democratic, does it? Inside Kiev and other Ukrainian cities, territorial defenders tasked with enforcing law and order have publicly tortured Roma people, as well as those accused of Russian sympathies for or looting. Grizzly images like this turn up every day. I've seen some awful stuff. US Liberals fly Ukraine's flag on their lawns. It's the same in the UK. All over. I mean, I live on a council estate, and there's bloody Ukraine flags all over the place. And imagine a plucky country fighting for democracy, but Ukraine's reality was summed up by a leftist tortured by the SBU. The war is being used to kidnap, imprison, and even kill opposition members who express criticism of the government. But if you don't support these neo-Nazis, then you're a Putin puppet. Gonzalo Lira was one of the people that I was getting information from coming out of Ukraine. Thank you to you in the chat and to the people who do comment on my videos. I do look at them. I know I don't get involved too much anymore with the comments, but I do look at them. And thanks to your comments, I was directed to this guy, Patrick Lancaster. And I want you to sit with me and watch
Now we are in Mariupol.
some footage. This is 10 minutes. You should, if you want to see more, go to his channel. This is about as, I think, as tame as I can show. Then you may see dead bodies in the course of watching this 10-minute video with me. But I want to talk. I want to show it you to show you what it's actually like on the ground there. War is hell, and there are forces within. There are battalions within. You know, these defenders, as the Guardian are calling them, the Mariupol defenders. There are neo-Nazis. There's no way. They're neo-Nazis. And war is hell, we know this. Despicable things happen. But I just want to show you, this is just brilliant journalism by this guy. We'll stop and we'll have a chat. But like I say, you're probably going to see dead bodies in there.
Not far from the sea itself.
Now he's in Mariupol. This was yesterday. Posted this, and we believe that the fighting's worse today.
The western part of the city, we can hear active battle, and we can see behind me this apartment building was hit. Right now we're in DPR in Russian-controlled territory. So this home was hit from incoming shelling from areas that are still controlled by the Azov. But there's active battle going on back and forth. But we're showing
the Azov are the neo-Nazi battalion. There's no way to
exactly all we can do on the ground. We see some civilians up the way. We're going to have a talk with them.
So this guy is about to meet. He's a Russian soldier, and this Russian soldier. I've seen in other videos I was watching last night where they were helping a mother and daughter get out the area and trying to, you know, evacuate citizens in the area where all this fighting's been. You can see his Russian flag.
Ушли оттуда! Ушли!
Guys, how many residents were there? 5 of us and one more ill woman laying there. It's my wife, he says. Where does she lie? From that side. These are the people I stand with, by the way. You know, when they say, "Oh, I stand with Ukraine," this is who they need to think about. This is not plucky fighters fighting against the Russians. This is people whose lives are being destroyed. This is somebody whose wife is very ill. And I want you to listen to this guy and listen to what he says. This guy in the hat. I'll read what he's saying. But it's important because this is coming out the mouths of people who are on the ground there.
Stop pressing slow.
What happened? She's bedridden, here the guy says. She has a hip fracture and a stroke. Will you be able to help?
Jesus Christ. Huh?
Can you tell me what happened there? Patrick asked, and he says an incendiary shell hitting everything caught fire.
Okay, we're just told by a man that his wife just had a stroke, and we're gonna try to help her, get her away from the burning building. And hope the building doesn't fall over here. Go, 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 go. This building is on fire right now. We've got to get her out.
Инсульт и перелом шейки бедра. Здесь вот в этом месте в углу безопасно, ее оттуда не трогайте. Обрушение будет там.
Что делать дальше?
Здесь пока оставайтесь, сейчас военным надо вывести. Поняли?
Как?
So his wife's there. She's broken her hip. She's had a stroke. The building's on fire. And they're saying they've got to leave her there. And the military should get out of here. The military, much.
Чтобы вывезли ее отсюда.
Военного своих мы их сами перетаскивали, ребята. Лежит.
Бабушка. Она практически вегетативное состояние.
She's already in a vegetative state. She already has stem destruction there and the swallowing reflex is impaired. I think what they're saying is if they move her, she'll die. And I think what they're saying is she's got a broken spine from all neck. Can't do anything for her.
Это ее нельзя трогать. У нее нарушен позвоночник, сломана шея. Вам сейчас, значит, сидите здесь.
Stay here, don't go anywhere. Try to get a doctor from a neighbouring district. How do I get him, he says. Go there and tell them what you need. And where is it? Where the tanker's just left, understand? She shouldn't be touched now. Try and give her some water.
Не, мы поили чайком. Я сейчас вам еще дам воду, пойдемте, и это самое. Понятно?
So this Russian soldier's coming, he's saying, listen, you know, you're going to have to go and get a doctor to come to her. You move her. She's in a bad way. And he's saying, I'll give you some more water.
Yeah, she's alive. Можно сказать, что произошло сегодня?
So what happened?
Значит, ну, какое-то время. После обеда. Попал снаряд.
A shell hit and some floors got on fire. It was 152mm from the sea. Can you tell me where it is from?
И оттуда может лететь, потому что там горит. И что, скоро или что произошло? С кем? Она. У нее инсульт. Нет, 3 недели назад она поломала себе бедро.
So she had a stroke 3 weeks ago and broke her hip, and before that she had a stroke. She had sick. She's been lying there ever since. We give water to her, give her food, and lately it's been impossible to help her in any way. His wife's literally dying in front of his eyes. It's horrible, he said. Will you be able to help? Wait.
Можно сказать, что мы могу сделать, Зана?
Вам сейчас ничего не надо делать, она должна остаться лежать здесь. Нужно позвать врача.
Saying the soldier's saying she should stay here. She shouldn't be touched.
Нет, это здание не рухнет.
And the building won't collapse. If it collapses, then it will be that part, and this is a separate building.
Понимаете? Поэтому ничего здесь страшного не произойдет. Сейчас пройдемте, я вам дам воды, а мы сейчас с вами здесь единственное, что можем поставить, оставить ее в покое, чтобы у нее там была вода, понимаете? Сейчас пройдет до врачей.
I will go to the doctors now where the tanks are standing, and we'll try to get a doctor from there.
Пойдемте сейчас с нами, мы вам дадим воды. Понятно?
Going to get him some water for his wife.
So we're doing what we can. It's not much, but we're trying to help. And we can hear snipers firing right now. Not sure if it's where, into who, or what. Может сказать адреса?
Says, can you tell the address?
Адреса какой?
Адрес.
Да.
Бахчеванжи 2.
So that's the address of where they're at. It's a house of 21 apartments.
Из 20
And it's a good luxury house, he says.
Это хороший элитный дом.
Rubble now.
И вот
Что я могу сказать за эту войну? За Zelenskyy, или Putin, или кто? Что я могу сказать?
ну что мы
So Patrick asks him, what can you say about this war? About Zelensky, about Putin? And he replies with this. What can I say? We thought, as they said, it would last for 1 to 2 days and everything will be okay. So they've been propagandized and bullshitted to by their own people. Watch.
как говорили, это 2-3 дня, все в порядке, и особенно ничего.
But you know, it is terrible. It is hell. Real hell.
Ад был, ад настоящий.
For 20 days, he says, it was shelling and bombings which made destructions of the house.
Ужас, это ад был, ад настоящий. 20 дней сначала обстрелы, бомбы, которые выводили, дом рушился, трещал.
The house was cracking. Every minute there were more and more cracks, but then the shelling stopped and the gunfights began between the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Ну что можно сказать? Потом прекратились, обстрел началась пулеметная между российскими и украинскими. Вот это
This is even more dangerous. It is unsafe to go out. I'm telling them that I need to get out to feed the woman, and they tell me not to go out.
покормить нам.
Oh, I'll feel bad.
Иначе вам будет плохо. И мы сидели все время.
So he sat all the time. One day she didn't eat anything for the whole day. He's obviously
Ну так
wife's in a really bad day, and it's been 30 days of a very harsh war.
Остальное забери, нахуй. Тут оставь, а это...
Here's the Russian guy, soldier giving out water.
Помни сюда воду. Все, спасибо большое. Не-не-не, подожди, еще не все.
The soldier we're with is a representative of the Russian army who has been giving humanitarian aid and things and helping people evacuate. We've done a few stories with him so far, but this is a shock. We did not expect this at all. We're going to continue to show you everything here in Mariupol and other cities where there's battle going on. Just bring you all the truth, all the facts that no one else will show you. And make sure you check out Max Clark's YouTube channel and his amazing photos and history in the making that he's making as well. There's not many foreign journalists here, but we're trying to do our best to show what's really happening. Please like this video, share across all social media, and remember, I'm an independent crowdfunded journalist. You can support my work with the link on the screen or in the description. And we just hope that that woman gets better. And now we're going to try to help the husband find a doctor, but then we're going to be off to the next report. So we're off.
I'm sure you'll agree that is brilliant journalism. Great journalism. Somebody who is, somebody mentioned in the chat, I noticed that said that he's got balls of steel. Well, yeah, well done. Go and watch the rest of his videos. Go and watch his recent ones. He dropped one literally just before I came on. I noticed, so I'll be watching that later. See his Road of Death report. Somebody's just said in the chat, and you're going to see a lot of dead bodies. It's chaos there. War is hell. And if you're cheering on the Ukrainian side, then just know that you're cheering on not the nicest of people. The Ukrainians are great people. Don't get me wrong. They're obviously great. Look at that guy who's worried about his wife. Neo-Nazis. UK government admitted that they're supplying the National Guard, which is the Azov battalion, with weapons and neo-Nazis. We're arming them. I saw a report. I've got to check into this, but I saw that we've got soldiers over there on the ground. There are reports coming out that we've got soldiers on the ground in Ukraine. The UK have. British soldiers. I don't remember declaring war on Russia. Who are we fighting in Ukraine? It must be Russia, right? I did a video, just a few weeks ago about Liz Truss saying, oh, you know, if people want to go out there and... That's illegal, what you're suggesting. But then, since when did the law matter with this government, eh? Yeah, we. I keep saying we with the UK. We. Like, I'm on that team. You know, when people are talking about Ukraine, and when you're watching the, you know, the propaganda at the moment, which is just incredible, everywhere you look, I want you to remember Hunter Biden on the board of energy companies. You know, the kids of these senators and congressmen and politicians on the boards of energy companies and making a fortune through investments in energy companies and media companies and funding stuff that goes into biolabs, for instance, in Ukraine. They're making money from this. They've done everything possible, as I've shown over the last 15 years, to provoke this. NATO have. And profit, and the kids of these politicians are profiting from it, and now we're sending Nazis weapons. Say we, the UK. I don't think we're being told the truth by our media, do you? Every country at the moment, it's the same. Every single country. They're just lying. The media in every country is lying to their population on purpose about everything to do with this war. And I've watched, you go to Al Jazeera, you go to Sky News Australia, you go to American News, MSNBC, CNN, go to our media, you go to Russian media. They're just lying to their populations. It's astounding. Just outright lying. Large populations of the earth right now, a huge population of the earth, haven't got a fucking clue what's going on in the world. They have been totally misinformed by their own government and medias. It's astounding. Doesn't matter which population you go to, they're treating doesn't matter which government you go to, the government and media are treating their citizens like shit. Every one of them, including Russia, by the way. Before anybody calls me a Putin shill, including Russia. Arresting their citizens for protesting, just as we do. I'm going to come on to that in a second. In fact, that's a great segue. Yesterday, Lost in the Fog of War sends super chat. Thank you, mate. Yesterday, Graham Phillips posted an interview with British prisoner of war Aidan Aslin. It's worth watching. I think that's one of the things that I was came to my mind. Lost in the Fog of War. Thank you for that. This is stupid. You're going to get us into World War III, you idiots. But, you know, hey, at least they're not talking about Ghislaine Maxwell anymore. Oh, nobody's talking about Ghislaine Maxwell right now. Nobody's thinking about that. Eh? You know, nobody, not a single person, that Ghislaine Maxwell, a trafficker of children, to be used as sex slaves. Not a single person that she trafficked children to has been arrested. Why is that, do you think? Do you think it's because all of her clients are in the government? This, staying on Ukraine, by the way, just for one last... This is something that interested me. Mariupol defenders, look, The Guardian. I mentioned this. The Guardian calling the Azov battalion Mariupol defenders. Azov neo-Nazis making a last stand in Mariupol. If you're still just a little bit ashamed of yourself for rooting for neo-Nazis, you can refer to them as the Mariupol defenders, as The Guardian does. I thought that. There's a couple of other stories I want to talk about. This is an interesting. This piqued my interest. Obviously, there's a lot of migration all over the world right now. Ukraine, obviously, refugees, millions of them. There's a lot of refugees. Look at this. This is astounding, this stuff. The United States border arrests have risen to a 20-year high with 1 million migrants detained in just 6 months. That's more than... I mean, remember, Trump did it less than Obama. I believe the stats are Trump actually deported less people than Obama did. Strangely enough. And now we've got Biden again, or the Americans have got Biden, and now there's 1 million migrants been detained in just 6 months. Arrests and expulsions by US officials at the Mexican border have risen to their highest level in at least 2 decades, with more than 1 million migrants detained in the past 6 months. Statistics released by the US Customs and Border Protection showed that its agents made 209,906 arrests along the country's southern border in March, on top of 803,000 since October, making it a total of 1 million in just 6 months. Remember that? Remember when it was Trump? AOC did a audition for the Oscars. Maybe Will Smith will smack her next year. That was the fastest pace of arrests on the Mexican border in 20 years. About 51% of those people were expelled under Title 42, a controversial pandemic rule which allows border agents to turn back migrants as a danger to public health, and obviously whip them with the reins on when they're on horseback as well. Whether they are caught crossing illegally or arriving seeking asylum at a checkpoint. So that's how America are treating their migrants turning up at their borders, because, you know, let's face it, these people are the result of decades of United States foreign policy. And obviously, we've got a shitload of migrants on our shores trying to drown themselves, just trying to get over the English Channel, just risking drowning themselves to get over here. And our latest is we're going to send them to Rwanda. And not just send them to Rwanda. I noticed that where I live, the city I live, is going to build a... Let me find this. So this is my local paper. The plans to confirm to form a lodge on Wolverhampton hospital site to house Ukrainian refugees. They're saying up to 500 refugees could be housed there. I mean, listen. They're refugees. I think we should take them in. I'm a humanitarian after all. But why are we only taking in Ukrainian? Why are we only building stuff for Ukrainian refugees? You know, these are people as a result of refugees as a result of action. I mean, it's not our military action that's caused them. I mean, you could argue it's NATO that's caused it, I suppose, but it's not our direct military action that's actually caused these refugees. We don't seem to be building much for the Syrian refugees or the Somalian refugees or refugees over in Yemen. In fact, I seem to remember them being kept in some awful conditions. The reason why I'm talking about this is I know some of you will say that man-made climate change is rubbish, but I happen to, believe the scientists. I happen to believe NASA scientists like Peter Kalmus, who came on my podcast and talks about these things. But if you believe them, then they're saying the IPCC report came out and basically said the world is on track to be unlivable pretty soon. So we're gonna have a worse refugee crisis on our hands in the coming decade. Are we just going to arrest them all and send them all to Rwanda? Is that the plan? And just keep the Ukrainian ones? Just keep the refugees that Russia's caused? And the ones that are a victim of our foreign policy, just, send them to Rwanda and arrest them all. I kind of think that, we need to change our policy on this. Not just the UK, and I'm not talking the UK there, I'm talking all of us. Because if it carries on, how do you see it playing out? Do you see things getting more violent? Do you see more authoritarian measures coming in? And if so, are you cheering them on? As it happens, will you cheer them on when it happens? Inevitably. Because track record over the last couple of years, I've seen people cheer on all sorts of dangerous stuff. Censorship for certain. The spying of politicians, as long as it's politicians you don't like. It's not a good place we're in right now. It really isn't. That's really all I wanted to talk about with that. People in the chat seem to think it might go to World War III. That might be the end of it. Well, I mean, what's next? Are they never going to? They're never going to do a deal with the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, supplying pedophiles with young girls and taping it all on a network of cameras. Are they never going to deal with any of the people that they trafficked? Any of the people that they were trafficked? Then they just, no, that's it. And whenever anybody brings it up, I don't know, we'll figure something out to keep everybody occupied with. In the hope that we'll forget that the people that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were supplying those children to have been running our government. and running our countries and setting all the rules for things. And running the world, let's face it. These are the most powerful people in the world. Bill Clinton was on his plane 26 times. 26 was it? He had about a dozen ways of contacting Peter Mandelson, did Ghislaine Maxwell. Number of Tony Blair. They're never going to get round to, you know, the stuff I've talked about with Ghislaine Maxwell and her connection there with Madeleine McCann. And then they're never going to talk about the e-fits at the Metropolitan Police that looked suspiciously like the Podestas, who were just down the road. They're just never going to talk about it, ever. Just leave it. No, nothing to see here. We'll go and create a wall somewhere. Paul Kenyon, thank you very much for the PayPal. Says, oops. I would love to hear sometime on what you think of Slavoj Zizek. I've seen him. Yeah. He's really impressed me. Every time I've seen him, he's been very... he's the guy he's like the philosopher guy who does a lot of work with Yanis... whatever his name. That guy from Greece. But can't pronounce. He's always impressed me. I don't know much about him, and I believe he's a really... big supporter of Julian Assange and a friend of Julian Assange, and obviously that could be that can only be a good thing. By the way, we'll find out tomorrow the Julian Assange thing. Obviously the appeal failed. Well, the Americans' appeal was granted, rather. And on Wednesday, the 20th, which is tomorrow, the magistrate will order the extradition of a publisher to the United States Espionage Court and a 175-year sentence for conducting public interest journalism that exposed US state crimes, including torture and the murder of children. Great, Britain, isn't it? Great, Britain. Ignominy has a date. Ignominy. Date. By Stella. Yeah, I won't be there, but I know many other people will. Many people will. I expect now that they'll order it, Priti Patel will rubber stamp it, and then there'll be another appeal, and he'll be locked up forever. Certainly seems that way. Awful, terrible people. And any politician, journalist, so-called journalist, hasn't stood up for it. Stood up for him all along, against the lies and the smears. You need to stop listening to them. Stop electing them. Okay, I have I've covered a lot of stuff over the past few years. Activists who have been targeting companies in the UK that are profiting from selling countries, namely the idea, namely to say countries, not countries, selling Israel parts for drones and to be used in their illegal occupation of Palestine against the Palestinians, and like shooting fish in a barrel. It really is. One side's got these drones and the other side's got flaming kites, you know, and catapults. They've been shutting down these factories. There's this group called Palestine Action. They've shut down not just factories in Leicester and in Shenston, up the road from me, that I did a report from there a few months ago, multiple times, but they've also shut down the landlord's house that is obviously renting the buildings to these companies that are profiting, namely Elbit Systems and Arconic. And it's been ongoing now over the last few years. And what's been fantastic, at least if you're on their side, which I kind of am, is that they've been winning in court as well. So these places have been taken to them to court for criminal damage, and their lawyers are arguing, no, this is actually what they're doing is trying to stop war crimes happening. And judges are finding, yeah, okay, it's actually warranted. This is because they're stopping war crimes, essentially. So they're actually not just on the right of good to stop these war crimes happening, but actually the court system seems to be backing them up as well. And I showed a video a few weeks ago of they got on the roof of Shenston again, and the company Elbit Systems had just hired a private security firm, and I think it was run by an ex-police officer, an ex-chief of police in Staffordshire, I think it is. And I don't know whether it was that security firm that did, but you could see they were on the roof attacking these protesters. On the roof, these hired thugs trying to grab them and whatever. It's so dangerous, you could have killed them, you know. And the latest, on Friday, they shut down Elbit Systems again. And they've arrested the activists, but they also arrested people who were just standing there with signs. Palestine Action are alleging that these two women who were wearing hijabs were standing there outside the factory with Free Palestine on the signs, and the police arrested them. Now, I have reached out to the Leicester police, but they're not answering. But as to why these people were arrested. Now, the person they arrested for who was holding the sign got de-arrested afterwards. And that's dodgy as hell. I've seen them do that, the police. I've seen the Met police do that down in London. And they did it with Eric, the 90-odd, Super Eric, the Assange supporter, 90-odd years old. And they arrested him and then de-arrested him afterwards. Took him into custody and then we de-arrested him. So they arrested these women and then de-arrested them afterwards. But if they arrested them, they must have arrested them for a crime. Okay? Now, they arrested Eric under what they said was COVID regulation. That's the way they arrested him at the time, because he was at a protest that they didn't want. It was outside the magistrate's court. So I'm wondering what they arrested these women for. Now, I've asked Leicester police, but they're not answering. And all I can find out is that they were de-arrested. So I would like some answers, please. If anybody has got any, if anybody is watching this and who knows exactly what these women were arrested for. Because if it was arrested just for holding a sign that said Free Palestine, are they also going to start arresting people who are holding signs that are against Russia or pro-Ukraine or any other sign that's free anything? What the hell is this? Is this 1984 we're entering into? Because if they can now... I saw a video the other day. I think it was on my Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. Is it? This. I won't show this, but you should go and find it online. I don't know entirely the context that was going on here, but this man, the police arrested him. And they said on suspicion of carrying a knife, right? And they couldn't find one on him, I don't think. And in the end, they arrested him for resisting arrest. And he gets really agitated and animated during this video, and he's screaming, saying, "What are you resisting? What arrest? What were you going to arrest me for?" And what I'm finding is the police are using this more and more and more. These powers that they're getting given by Priti Patel, they're starting to use them more and more. And if you question them at all, they just grab you and take you off the streets. They just say resisting arrest and use this carte blanche thing. And I'm wondering whether they did the same thing to these women and arrested them for resisting arrest and then de-arrested them afterwards. Because what I'm finding is any sort of questioning of the police's authority whatsoever immediately leads them to escalate things into the situation where they just want to drag you and get you off the street, even if it's a case of just inconveniencing for you a few hours, getting you in the cell, so they can then de-arrest you and say, "Oh well, no harm done." This is punitive punishment. These people are meant to be our public servants. And what are they doing? These people, these protesters, are being backed up in a court of law to say that their actions are equal and proportionate to stop war crimes happening and us, our companies over here profiting from selling weapons to countries that are using them in illegal occupations that can be tantamount to war crimes. They are winning in court and the police are still arresting them. It's interesting that tomorrow is this Assange decision to extradite him. Tomorrow, because I've been to plenty of protests and covered the Assange things probably more than most over the last few years. And I got to tell you something. Those people who are protesting not only are the salt of the earth in this country, the best of the best you can possibly find in this country. I have met lifelong friends. They are amazing, the whole group, and you know who you are. I love you all. Emmy Button, I just love her I love her bones, I do. Tonya and Naylor, I love them. They're the best people in the world. But not only that, but they're law-abiding citizens on the side of the law, on the side of truth and justice and liberty, right? Outside every week, Belmarsh on a Sunday, every week at the Piccadilly, you know, I got invited to an online thing tonight, but I'm obviously live. They're doing the country a proud justice, a proud service. And whenever I am at these protests, the police who are there treat us like we're the criminals. They treat those people who are the best people you can possibly imagine, the people who are standing up against tyranny, against liars and war criminals, who have took away the liberty of a journalist because he proved that they were lying war criminals. And the police treat them like they're the criminals. We need a complete rewrite, a complete and utter rewrite of policing in this country. Pay Stage one, if you like. And first should be, we serve the people, not power. Because all I see right now, when I see images like this, and whenever I see the Metropolitan Police as well, all I see is hired thugs protecting pedophiles. That's it. That's all I see. I don't see anybody going to jail who Ghislaine Maxwell supplied children to, do you? And there's bound to be lots of people in this country, lots of them. She was a socialite. She was Maxwell's daughter. But the police are treating people who are on the side of justice and on the side of the law as criminals and just ruining their day just because they can. Because Priti Patel said they could. Maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be arresting peaceful protesters. Just maybe, we shouldn't be arresting women who are holding signs saying Free Palestine. Just maybe, because it sets a bad precedent. Just maybe, we shouldn't do that. But if you think about it, and you think about what I've been talking about all through tonight, and about how our media are not showing that, you know, we're actually funding neo-Nazis over in Ukraine right now. You know that. We're sending them missiles, these neo-Nazis. We have wrecked Ukraine. Our foreign policy, along with NATO and America, has totally and utterly wrecked Ukraine. They knew this was going to happen, and they literally did everything they could to lead to this situation. Right now, Victoria Nuland, Joe Biden are pretty much running the EU, bossing them about, telling them what to do. And we're supplying weapons to neo-Nazis and, you know, lionising somebody who looks like he's coked off his tits. And you've just got to wonder, haven't you? Are we the baddies? Are we? If you look at what we're doing, arming neo-Nazis and lionising cokeheads and sending refugees off to Rwanda, arresting them at the border, arming neo-Nazis, enabling the genocide in Yemen, whilst pointing the finger at Putin and saying, oh, bad. We supply the planes and the weapons that have been used to devastate that country for the last 8 years. There's meant to be some sort of ceasefire at the moment. I hope that lasts. But we enable this. And our police arrest people who are protesting the government doing it. So, it is no wonder I got drunk at the barbecue yesterday. If you ask me, it's no wonder. Honestly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised I'm sober right now, I've got to be honest. I think that's it, everybody. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. I don't think... Yeah, everything I wanted to cover. Let me make sure I've not missed any super chats or anything. Thank you very much for the support. Please support independent media. Yeah, please. I know it's very tight at the moment, but I really do need your help to continue. I've got to start. I'm going to have to put it on a paywall. Have to. Don't want to. Really don't, but I have to try and do something to monetize my content. I can't get any money from YouTube because obviously I turn all my adverts off. It's not that I've been demonetized. I demonetize myself on YouTube. I shouldn't complain. Thank you very much to everybody who supports independent. Yeah. And look out for Gonzalo Lira, everybody. Watch Patrick Lancaster, the side of Jerusalem. Patrick's been... Yeah, I was watching his videos over the weekend. He's fantastic. Mary Scary said, we need more here from people like you, Gordon. Thank you very much. Nice of you. Let me just check Rumble. Make sure I haven't missed anything on Rumble. Two views. 2 views on Rumble. Five people on Rockfin, is there? And that's it. 2 views on. Right. Okay, everybody. I'm out. Thanks very much. Support independent media. Free Julian Assange. If you haven't already, write to your politician. Write to your politician after the judgment tomorrow. After the judge signs the extradition, it's up to Preeta Patel. Send an email to your politician. I will be, because the politicians have been saying that we can't, there's a legal thing going on, so we can't. Well, after tomorrow, there's a window, isn't there? The legal thing ends. Now it's politics. We can't extradite political prisoners to countries who planned to kidnap and kill him based on fabricated nonsense, testimony got from a convicted pedophile and fraudster who lied his way, conned the FBI into getting immunity for spinning this web of bullshit, to which Iceland had to resurrect a decades-old law to stop what they called a, quote, ongoing crime spree. And that's without all the, UC Global spying on him and his meetings with doctors and lawyers and actresses and all sorts, and journalists are spying on him for the CIA. That's what the, papers were doing. That's why it was thrown out in the end. We can't do that. And our politicians are spineless if they... All right, take care, everybody. I love you all. I'll be back. I'll be back in a couple of days, no doubt.